Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to the show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
welcome to the Movie Wire.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We've got a big show this week with 3 new movies to review, with 2 playing in theaters and 1 that I missed in theaters that's available to rent or buy now. This week on the show, she only has 2 desires, and one of them is justice in Ethan Coen's Honey, Don't. Dinosaurs and Vietnam, that's all you need to know in primitive war. Led by Lee, Evil Never Gets Old. In its short theatrical run, Pete Davidson stars in The Home. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows, what? A roar and a burst of flame. The Movie Wire podcast. You need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
We are 3. We are 7. We are 3. We are 7. We are 3.
A dark comedy about a small-town private investigator, Honey O'Donoghue, who delves into a series of strange deaths tied to a mysterious church. Written and directed by Ethan Coen, in his second solo directorial outing is Honey Don't.
Address you wanted?
Thanks, MJ.
Honey, right? Love those click-clacking heels.
Honey O'Donoghue, to what do we owe the honor?
Can you tell me about this woman, Mia Novotny?
She got stabbed and stuffed in the car, I guess.
In the cool of the evening when everything is getting kind of cool.
Only when we submit to the will of God do we serve him. Hector, not in the sacristy.
You call me up and ask me would I like to go with you and see a movie.
The French, they're not happy.
Who's not happy?
First I say no, I got some plans for tonight.
Honey O'Donoghue, I ain't seen you in a minute.
Mia Novotny, are you aware of any trouble she was in?
Will she owe you money?
She was afraid of something the cops couldn't help her with. I said I'd help. Cops said it was an accident.
Love is
That was from her church in town. She never wore that in the house. You'll neither.
Why is a private investigator looking into a traffic fatality?
What can you tell me about?
Do you drink?
Heavily, it's a point of pride.
Should you and I discuss this over a drink?
Tuesdays I dry out.
Today's Wednesday.
Today is Tuesday.
spooky.
Action! Duty! Submission! There is no higher service! I help people, Miss O'Donoghue. I see a need, and I fill it.
You see a need and you exploit it.
This is God's punishment.
And His will be done.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
You're fascinating.
And you haven't even seen the riddle tattooed on my ass.
Love is kind of crazy with a spooky little boy like you.
You've gotta hand it to Ethan Coen, even flying solo. He's not letting genre go gently into that good night. with Honey Don't, in which he wrote and directed. Coen plunges headfirst into the realm of neo-noir lesbian B-movie Private Eye Capers, what seems to be the middle installment in what he cheekily terms his lesbian B-movie trilogy. Just maybe, or at least until the third entry, Go Beavers, featuring a lesbian basketball team, takes shape and pushes even further off the logical map. Now, not an actual movie, but that I'd be the first one to watch. Margaret Qualley stars as private investigator Honey O'Donoghue, who is designed like Rosalind Russell from 1940's His Girl Friday. And we feel some inspiration of the Hildy character, and even some jokes that feel like it came off of a 40s comedy truck. Coen takes the inspiration and makes it feel like a contemporary detective story that holds on to the 40s Private Eye vibe. The feeling of an old school detective is always present, and that's thanks to Margaret Qualley, that stays in detective mode the entire runtime to ensure this feeling of an old school detective story. But unfortunately, Coen doesn't keep the mystery feeling alive anywhere else in his premise or his story. He almost needs a private eye to figure out what is missing from his screenplay. At an hour and 29 minutes, we go from murder to questioning to sex, with nothing of interest in between. Though the characters are interesting enough, especially when it seems that every character is having sex in the movie, except our police detective Marty, played by Charlie Day, who really tries. Charlie Day really tries to get laid in this movie. But spoiler alert, he never does. But our Marty character just doesn't try and have sex with anybody. He just tries to have sex with our lesbian detective, Honey. And between Marty and Honey, these two have fantastic chemistry and they have fantastic banter that almost feels like it should have been a buddy cop movie to some extent. But every other character here feels just thrown in just for screen time, just for marketing purposes. There is too much character to effectively make the story believable, including Aubrey Plaza, who is billed heavily, barely appears. Her relationship with Honey is so undercooked, it feels thrown in, she's barely present. It's almost like this character is in just to have a sex scene. But she is a key piece of Coen's story, but she is never properly utilized. As a viewer, we can tell that Coen has a lot of moving parts here and a lot of characters to juggle, that by the time we get halfway through, we start to feel that there is always something missing. And with how much Honey does try to do, and an hour and 29-minute runtime, that doesn't do this film justice. It's too short with the big ideas that Coen has. The film's runtime and pacing feels like it's a mere trailer to something greater that we can't wait to see. We get mere glimpses into these characters and a story that hints at great stake mystery, but fizzles out during the climax to reveal just something so simplistic. It's like watching a live-action Hardy Boys movie, just our Hardy Boys just took a bottle of Viagra and wants to have sex with everybody, and Chris Evans pops in once in a while in his underwear humping the air. Now, we saw this kind of storytelling from Coen's Drive Away Dolls from last year that suffered almost the same kind of problem, where we have so much going on with a short runtime, where we jam-pack a lot of characters and a lot of potential of an idea that never utilizes the characters to expand that idea to make a coherent story. The talent is present, the performances are great, but Ethan Coen has trouble finishing a train of thought when it comes to how he's going to give us an Act 1, an Act 2, and an Act 3. The pacing of Honey Don't will leave you either chuckling or scratching your head. The movie is less a traditional narrative and more like watching a collection of sketches that hopefully come together by the end. While this is on par for the course for both the Coen brothers, it's harder to forgive when you realize there is no real payoff for the characters, and the movie had a razor-thin story and a razor-thin build. That's the tricky thing about Coen movies. Sometimes you feel like they're just having fun making something weird without worrying too much about whether it lands or not. Then we have Ethan Coen that goes solo and has a great idea, but has no idea how to get there. In Honey Don't, the idea and tone works. It really does. But again, there are moments when you'll wonder if someone left the script in the dryer too long and it just shrunk. But at the same time, I have to say, in defense to Coen, it's hard to deny his quality direction here. The movie looks great. We can tell Coen has complete control of his cast, the way he works the camera to maintain the feels that we get. The visual style of the film feels like classic Coen. Unsettling but beautiful with an underlying sense of discomfort. Cinematographer Ari Wagner, who has collaborated with Ethan Coen in Drive Away Dolls. She manages to make the rural look extraordinary. The empty streets to dingy fast food joints, all the way to the dead-end strip malls are all shot with a wonder and almost a mental escape that makes them seem oddly majestic. It's almost as though the movie is consistently trying to tell you that these little, almost meaningless corners of America are somehow just as important or grander as significant cities, big cities, which also plays to a bigger message that Coen could be telling us, but again, misses it, has no idea how to organize his thoughts. On top of that, the cast has to take the heaviest lift to keep this movie entertaining. And with Coen having Margaret Qualley back after Drive Away Dolls, this was a smart move to know what Coen is looking for. There is a new level of comfort and confidence that we see from Qualley in comparison to Drive Away Dolls. If you were a fan of Drive Away Dolls, you will probably find some value in Honey Don't. And to me, it's worth a watch just to see Margaret Qualley at her subtle best. Or if you want a movie with a lot of sex, or if you want to see Chris Evans play a priest that is in his underwear 90% of the movie, then you will probably enjoy this. I guess it has something for everybody. Honey Don't, I praise the look and feel and the performances, but based on Coen's pattern in the last two films, if he has an idea or a premise, he either needs to find and partner with a writer or just stick to directing. The direction here is fine. He nails the feel, and that's a lot to say about a director who has no script to work with, let alone his own script. I'm giving Honey Don't 2.5 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Karma is a killer, and I Know What You Did Last Summer overacted, recycled, and brings nothing new to the table except for 1.5 stars. Love is hard, and breakups are harder, especially when an unnatural force has a plan to keep them together. Which will make your date stop holding her hand in the movie, but worth it, receiving 3 stars. Brad Pitt goes vroom vroom in F1 the movie. That was an adrenaline ride, especially given the runtime, and it's a feast for the senses, receiving 3.5 stars. Double the bad and double the fun. I don't know about that in The Bad Guys 2, which was just too much to receive 2.5 stars. The Universe Called, The Wrong Number, and Disney Pixar's Elio, which is a much better animated movie than The Bad Guys 2, receiving 3.5 stars. And another movie still not as good as Elio, Smurf It Up and Get the Search Party Started, and Smurfs, which Smurfin' sucked, receiving 2 stars. Every choice, every mission has led to this in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which was a clever way to close out the series, but will end with the same feeling as the rest of just blending together, but still a fun ride in the moment, receiving 3 stars. Hindsight is 20/20 in Eddington that attacks a proper balance of political divide with a focus for the characters and allows her own reflection to a dark time to fill in relatable thrills, receiving 3 stars. A new era is born in Jurassic World Rebirth, in which we needed a redo, not a rebirth, that birthed out 2 stars. Time didn't heal anything, and 28 years later, that took the serious into emotional horror, receiving 3.5 stars. Every Life is a universe of its own, and the first 4-star review of the year, and the best movie of the year, The Life of Chuck, which received 4 stars. Hold on to your coconuts in Disney's remake that's familiar but extends the heart in Lilo and Stitch, that received 3 stars. Some people just want more in a romantic movie that tackles today's social status versus what love actually is in Materialist, that received 3 stars. The Ocean Leaves No Trace, his murder weapon as an appetite in Dangerous Animals that puts humans as the predator over sharks. My animal instincts couldn't help but give it 3 stars. The Bitch is Back in Megan 2.0 that had a good premise, but the execution of what to do with the premise missed the mark, receiving 2.5 stars. Yet another live-action remake that changes absolutely nothing in How to Train Your Dragon. And if you like the original, just watch the fucking original, receiving 2 stars. And finally, when families unite, a new legacy begins in Karate Kid Legends that feels as entertaining as going to a random kids kung fu tournament, receiving 1.5 stars. And please don't go to a random kids kung fu tournament, that's just weird. Make sure you check out those reviews of my previous episodes, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before we get into the rest of the show, if you haven't tuned in, follow or subscribe to the cult-worthy cinema podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, now is your time, because this week we cover the movie Greystroke, The Legend of Tarzan. This is an episode you don't want to miss. But before we get into the last set of reviews, let's hear from Back to the Balcony now.
Sound a little excited, Gene. Sound less excited, Roger.
Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, two titans of cinematic review. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but always captivating. Your host Antonio of the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and Justin Henson of the Movie Wire are here to take you back to the balcony.
I really don't do reviews, but for me it's more about like, hey everyone, these films exist.
When we go into Siskel and Ebert, we're not always going to agree with Siskel and Ebert, but, there's some aspects we may.
And I think with each episode we're going to understand these guys a lot more than we think we have in all the decades that we've been reading their stuff.
Vietnam, 1968, a recon unit as a Vulture Squad is sent to an isolated jungle valley to uncover the fate of a missing Green Beret platoon. They soon discover that they are not alone. Based on the 2017 novel of the same name by Ethan Pettis, comes Primitive War.
I heard you got to. Nice work, Baker. You gotta be a lunatic if you're gonna be a vulture. Let's see what you guys think of this next mission.
3 days ago, I lost my Green Berets. We're gonna drop you in right here, in that valley.
We got our job. Find those Green Berets.
The puzzle, that's all. Taking my position. One female Russian survivor. They're still out there. Just take to the perimeter. Swap for bird. Since we insert, we've been attacked by all kinds of prehistoric beasts. We need an emergency extract from the zoo.
And that's not an option. My mission is to get my men home, not fight dinosaurs. I'm gonna go find them, dead or alive.
We must survive an hour. Your mission died.
Better get fueled up and get ready.
We're doing what you want. We're probably all gonna die screaming because of it.
We talk about that screaming and dying bit.
Written, directed, and produced by Luke Spark in a unique move to only have this film as a limited run as a Fathom event. Now, watching the trailer, I was excited to see this movie. Not only am I a fan of the original novel, but after the last set of the Jurassic World films and an attempt at something different with 2023's Adam Driver's film 65, I was hyped to see something different and executed well. And how can you go wrong with something like Vietnam and dinosaurs? The time and setting is set up for success to deliver something very special with stakes of war and getting eaten to pieces by dinosaurs. But my excitement started to get a little concerned of seeing the trailer that looked fantastic, but it also being a limited release with a really great director. I also went into this film thinking it was a marketing trap, where we have a trailer that looks extremely polished, but what we actually do get is something that you would see as a midnight movie. Especially when we have Jeremy Piven as an army general. You remember that guy? The villain in Spy Kids 4 and The Goods Live Hard, Sell Hard. But at the same time, I also had a spark of hope that the original author, Ethan Pettis, had a hand on penning this script. So it could go either way. The ending result was mixed for me. But holistically, what Primitive War ends up being is a missed opportunity. along with moments that felt way too familiar in the direction or filmmaking, that nods to moments from previous Jurassic Park films, from a camera shot to a bug on a leaf after a surprise kill by one of our dinos, which resembles a snake on a tree after a velociraptor kill from the first Jurassic Park, all the way to a mom and dad T-Rex ripping a man in two, protecting their young as we saw from The Lost World. We have multiple shots that come to surface as we have seen this before, to the disappointing dialogue that is treated more like a midnight movie cheesiness than actually helping to build stakes. Our characters here, they're not memorable. They show no wonder, no curiosity, no danger. When they discover that they are in a jungle full of prehistoric animals, the stakes are met with telling the audience what they're going to do next, or setting up when they're going to be attacked next, or just silly dad joke one-liners. When we have a movie that takes place mostly at night in the dark, which is a strategic move by Spark to probably help with the tension build, is what I'm sure he would say. But realistically, it's to hide the inconsistent CGI dinos that are really a hit or miss when it comes to quality. And when you are in a dark setting for most of the movie, the thought should come across your mind. If you are going to have us in a dark setting for over 2 hours, couldn't you at least have the CGI be more consistent? Because even in the dark, we can see the flaws. Spark even tries to cover that up by moving the camera as quickly as he can anytime a dino is on screen. When we have an attack, I can picture the cameraman literally shaking the camera back and forth. We are never really allowed to really take in these dinosaurs, never take in the dinosaur attacks and what's happening to help heighten the stakes, or make us go from war sucks to war really, really sucks. Now, the CGI, I'm hard on, but it wasn't horrible. We do have moments of awe. There are moments where I said, that's pretty cool, including watching an army of feathered raptors charge a small group of machine gun wielding soldiers and watching it from an aerial shot. Don't get me wrong, there are cool moments here. Or even taking a breath and allowing viewers to take in our dinosaurs in a natural habitat. Jurassic Park and Jurassic World always has this moment of wonder and awe with that theme music playing in the background, where our characters have to admire these animals. And Primitive War, again with some familiar nods to Jurassic films past, Spark couldn't resist this strategy. And here, I can't fault him for that, because he does it better of the moment of awe than what we've seen in films past. Especially what comes to mind is the awe moment in Jurassic Park 3, where we have the raft scene and the brachiosaur that looked like it was colored with Crayola crayons lean into the camera. Here, Sparks takes his time. We actually have a realistic moment of awe, where Sparks adds in, again, a copied river scene where we do see our dinosaur in natural habitats, from drinking water alongside elephants to a sleeping Spinosaurus. This is where the CGI is at its best, and Sparks knows this because it's all properly lighted, it's all bright. This has to be spot on believability. But Sparks is strategic. He puts us at a distance from these characters to almost hide the CGI flaws. If we looked up close, we can probably see it. But in the moment, we're not paying attention to that because the awe is a distraction. He strategically places the camera at a good distance where we can appreciate the environment. We can appreciate the strategic move of the wonder of seeing these dinosaurs in a natural environment. So we don't care about the CGI flaws. We're not looking for it. This is what makes this scene better than what we've seen in Jurassic Park or World films past. This should have been an alternate strategy of Sparks to learn that he is at his best whenever he takes a camera and pulls it back in a less intimate manner. This strategy works, but most of the time, he has the cameras right up to our characters. He's shaking the camera. Sparks has a hard time to lean back if our characters are in frame, and forgets that our characters and even the viewer are in unknown territory. We're in a setting or a world, if you will, that we have never been, and we don't get that appreciation from our filmmakers to know this. Lean the damn camera back so we can take in the environment or analyze the screen to figure out where the next attack is going to be. Whenever a director uses the camera as a magnifying glass, it takes away the stakes and just adds predictability, and we see that a majority of the runtime here. And that's what this movie is full of. We know when the attacks are going to come, we know who's going to die next, we even know what music is going to play in the background. Because Sparks, again, utilizes strategies from not just prior dinosaur films, but also prior war films. We, of course, can't have a Vietnam movie without a shot of a helicopter taking off to the song of Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And as we get to the climax of Primitive War, The last 30 minutes is the style and pacing that I wanted the entire movie. It shouted the cool factor, the entertainment factor, and even at times the absurdity factor. With those elements combined, it ends with fun factor. And that's what the audience is going to be left with, the last thoughts they saw. And that's what's really going to encourage people thinking they had fun with this movie, but forget the flaws of the first hour and 45 minutes. But almost at a 2.5 hour runtime, we spend most of the movie in this dark jungle with our characters as they get picked out one by one, with overacting by Jeremy Piven chiming in once in a while to yell at his vulture squad to add to the stakes of another motive for them being there. But we really don't have a story arc here that the movie really pushes. We can see an arc in the climax that should have happened an hour prior. And just to back up, Piven, I want to say, does an okay job here. The entire cast does an okay job here given the simplistic material they're given, which is a disappointing statement given the original author helped pen the screenplay. When the original author is helping with the adapted material, I would have expected something a little bit more advanced, a little bit more quality, but we don't get that here, which adds a level of disappointment to the holistic feeling of the movie. But all in all, Primitive War has its moments, and when it's absurd on purpose and our director pops in his Adderall, the movie is fun and memorable. But all the fun moments are interrupted by stale filmmaking, shaking cameras, and uninteresting characters. Ethan Pettis has 4 Primitive War books, and I'll look forward to the next one, because the movie sets us up on even more curiosity. But the writing and direction has to get a lot tighter here. And as I talk about the movie with friends after watching it, they asked how it was. And I said, yeah, Vietnam and dinosaurs. How can you go wrong? Why wouldn't you want to see this movie? Even though a near miss, I have a feeling that I will revisit this movie in the coming years as a guilty pleasure. So I can't say it's horrible, but it is a bare miss for me. I'm giving Primitive War a near miss at 2.5 stars. Now, with movies having a shorter run in theaters before they go direct to streaming, here is another one that had like a 2-week run that I didn't get a chance to see in theaters, but now it's available on VOD now. So you know what that means.
Theaters to streaming seems too short. So that can only mean one thing. It's time for the movie Wire Catch.
Max, a degenerate who realizes that the residents and caretakers in the retirement home he started working at hide sinister secrets. Pete Davidson stars in The Home, that is now available to rent or buy on your respected streaming platforms.
You saw how clean this place was coming in?
Yes, sir.
Your job is to keep it that way.
And no 4th floor, darling. Those patients need special care. Off limits to you.
These are good people. They deserve comfort in their twilight years.
Here to get your garbage.
You know, you've got interesting eyes.
There's something very wrong with this place. Something terribly wrong.
Hey, man, I'm not gonna hurt you.
It's time to play by the rules. What?
What's going on?
Sometimes, when things are bad on the outside, we have to look on the inside.
Bless his little heart. Pete Davidson has had a go at a list of genres trying to find his forte, From comedy to voiceover to action to mystery to horror to what many thought would be his breakthrough, The King of Staten Island, to now what would be a horror thriller that nobody is going to care about. Now, Pete Davidson takes on projects that on paper I can tell look enticing. It reads better in one's head than it does a final result. A mysterious retirement home with a mysterious backstory that turns into an Evil Dead rage climax. It's so bonkers with a leading role that can showcase his range that why wouldn't he take it? But this is where people are so easy to judge, saying, why would he even take this role? Because the dialogue isn't half bad if you actually looked and paid attention to it, especially as a new actor in major motion pictures. The main character has a majority of the lines, the most screen time, and potential under the right direction, especially with a bloody climax to make it memorable. Directed and written by James DeMonico alongside writer Adam Cantor. The Home again stars Pete Davidson as Max, who is given his last chance without jail time by his father Cooper, played by King of Queens actor Victor Williams, who has connections to get him out of jail time, and instead do community service at a rest home, where he makes connections with the tenants only to discover the tenants not only have something to hide, but also may answer questions to his past. The Home is an intriguing movie on the surface, especially with the given cast, that those that grew up in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s will have a field day with the, oh, look, it's that guy. Especially with actor Gremlins 2, John Clover, we have Rookie of the Year and The Paper, Bruce Ullman, and again, King of Queens TV star Victor Williams. This did add an entertainment element by adding the, oh, look who it is element, and the performances are energetic and entertaining. But as we steer close to the climax, the familiar faces come across wasted as we get introduced to just cliches, that we discover these familiar faces are there for setup and then they add nothing of value. During the first act, the build is something that really did keep me to the edge of my seat of what the mystery was going to come. Then the second act comes and it rushes itself of what makes it special, the characters. Then we get to the final act. It goes full speed ahead and forgets what made it special and just goes for shock factor. The Home gets caught up in its own energy of what it's aiming for, and we can feel our director, James DeMonico, like a kid on Christmas morning rushing to open their presents to the climax, forgetting that just like the presents aren't going anywhere. Embrace the moment and experience and take in the excitement. The film holds back so much more than what it is with messaging and character development. It's one of those movies that they had a premise and an ending, but no idea how to get there. Any moment that the movie really goes into something deep or have the potential of some really good stakes, the movie just doesn't pull back, but rather rushes itself into a situation. When it comes to Pete Davidson, I have to say, he does his best with what we're presented with. He does a fine job here, and dare I say, almost carries the movie as a main actor should. But it's not a talent problem on screen. It's a filmmaking problem behind the scenes. It's a direction and writing problem where our director is a writer and can't see during the process to slow the fuck down, appreciate the premise, and find the message. It's okay to have a shock climax, a climax that's bloody and over the top, but it has to be earned. Here, there is not enough dialogue or build to make it feel as such. The Home covers the loss of loved ones, young or old, that many would say the greatest curse of getting old is seeing those family and friends and loved ones pass away or start to fade away. But when it comes to Pete Davidson's Max, hints at the point that it's not just the old that have to face loss. There is a lot to explore here, but even more so, a lot to help build the stakes. But The Home never takes a moment to appreciate the stakes that it's already built. It's too much focused on the mystery that is uninteresting and unearned. It misses the most interesting part. What is James DeMonico going to do with the stakes and the messaging that he has on his goddamn lap? The answer is nothing, but a cliche bloody ending that tries to be something that it promised in the beginning it wouldn't be. When we finally reach the reveal of the mystery, or twist if you will, I felt myself trying to force myself to care. The twist in the moment is cool, but there is no depth or dialogue to really deep dive above the shock factor. I wanted to know more about the motive and the why. And I know I'm being vague, but you will know it when you see it. But you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to give it away anyway. Why would characters A and B sacrifice their youth and, of course, and do that? Why would they and I couldn't do it. I had to censor it out. But you can message me on MovieWire Show on all my socials if you don't plan to watch and you want to know the twist. This is where the dialogue is severely missing on an explanation to why. This is a movie that you'll have in all caps in bold asking why. The house has all the elements of entertainment, even to an extent something memorable. A subtle but memorable cast, a reused premise with a unique twist if the messaging is there. But sadly, it's not. And it goes more into shock factor by the end of it, unearned shock factor, than what it sets itself up to be. This is one of those frustrating films that has all the ingredients to make it special, from the cast, the performances, to even the style. But by the back half of the movie, it just doesn't make sense or even attempt to tap into its potential. But for what it's worth, for a first-time view, it will keep you engaged in the mere idea of what it wants to be. So for that, I'm giving The Home 2 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film, and support your local movie theaters.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.